Okay. Alright. Hello everyone and welcome to Vlad the Impaler. Now this is something that I picked up that was kind of cheap. It was like, I think 99 cents, and I think it was on sale at the time. I don't remember how much it was on sale, but it's about vampires. I like that. I like vampires. So here we go. To explore, you have knowledge of the land. You are fast on a target, adventurous. You'll be inspired by the diplomatic embassy. The soldier is fierce and strong. Fulfill your knightly duty to the kingdom, or unlock your dark side and become the assassin. The mage is skilled, and I don't care about the mage. They all start with the same stats, but the background is different. I'm curious about the... No. This one's got dexterity and agility. This one's strength and constitution. This one's magic and intelligence. And then I want the soldier. This lot. And that wasn't word for word. Wickedness, deal with it as soon you're missing something here. That's fine. Chapter 1. I did not know there were multiple chapters. You pass through the gates of Istanbul on a moonless night. The lights from torches are few, and the eyes of midnight wanders are many. A group of guards huddle around the body of a woman, her heart ripped out and used to paint a tall, bloody 15 days on the wall behind her. The weight of fear is heavy on the streets. The scent of death haunts the tight air. It is a city under siege, and the enemy is invisible. All right. Okay. This is the first day of 15. These are my stats. This is my mortality. What is this? Ooh, this is my stuff. Hit the head, hit the head. Hit the head, hit the heart. Okay. Back, okay. I can go 3 places. Let's check the square. Buy a falafel. Search, wander at nightfall. That seems dangerous. Let's search for the head of the guard. You are walking through the square, searching for the head of the distinct district guards, when you pass by a man proselytizing from the top of a crate. As you walk by, the man shouts and points at you, and that is why God punishes us. Foreigners in armor with their idolatrous gods and their wicked schemes. Get thee hence, heathen. Get ye back to your land of sin and fornication. Fornication, not fornication. Fornication. Fool. I come to Istanbul to save its people. The very words of every foreigner through our gates, he cries. You are no different than the knights who haunt our streets and the dark things which haunt our shadows. People begin to move away from the man. Yes! God judges you. He sees what wickedness lies in the heart of hearts. He knows who follows the path of the righteous, who lies down with Ismail. You walk closer to the man. Ismaju, you say. What is that? What does that name mean? The man laughs at you. As if you do not know. as if you did not bring the dragon with you when you entered these walls. You are a liar, and blood begins to trickle from the man's nose and mouth. Those people still standing there begin to gasp and cry out. The man's eyes suddenly explode like bloody eggs. He screams a ragged scream before toppling forward and crashing onto the cobblestones. "Plague!" shouts someone. "A curse! A curse!" shouts another. You immediately inspect the man's body, knowing full well that no plague can kill that quickly. This man has been poisoned, but how? Then you find it. A small needle-like dart in the back of his neck. The man has been assassinated. Why? What possible gain could come from killing a pompous street preacher? Surely the name Ismeju isn't so dangerous that it's a death sentence to mutter it out loud. +2 magic. Well, that doesn't fucking help us. Let's go to the bazaar. Find a bookseller, get some baklava. Baklava! You are wandering through the Istanbul bazaar, eating a piece of honeyed baklava, when you notice a little girl watching you from a few tents away. She looks as though she's coveting the sticky dessert that is getting all over your fingers. You give her a slight smile of condolence. Then hands suddenly emerge from a secret fold in the tent behind the girl, pulling her inside without a sound. Of all the abductions that you've been following in the city, you never thought you'd actually witness one happening. You walk over to the front of the tent, finishing off the last of your dessert. "Welcome, my friend," says a smiling merchant in a turban. "Are you in need of a lamp or oil?" Tell the merchant that whoever's holding the girl in the tent had better release you right now before you summon the city guard. First your way inside the... I'm gonna force my way inside. You shove the merchant aside without a second thought, and draw your weapon as you enter the dark tent. The smell of lamp oil greets your nostrils. You see that a man clad in black has already stuffed the girl, bound and gagged, into a wicker basket. His eyes meet yours with surprise, a little confusion. Not wasting a moment, you leap at him. His free hand draws a knife. You slice that hand away at the wrist. The kidnapper screams. You kick him to the ground as blood sprays from his severed stump. You then spin around, knowing full well that the merchant will be attacking from behind. He runs himself through on your blade, a look of anguish and shock crossing his face. You wrench the weapon free of him, spraying blood across the piles of lamps, then turn back to question the kidnapper. Unfortunately, he is already gone. The trail of blood should be easy to follow, but you abandon thoughts of chase in favor of rescuing the girl. You pull open the basket, untie her, carrying her outside. A woman immediately comes running up to her and takes her out of your arms. The girl calls her mommy, and so you let her go. The mother thanks you profusely, saying that Istanbul needs more heroes like you. Strength and charm. That's what we wanted. Oh, it's day 3 already. Let's go to the square, and let's wander at nightfall. The square is quiet at night. Here and there, the late-night wanderers move like dark ghosts toward their destinations, keeping mostly to themselves. You walk among them, unable to sleep, attempting to find the connections to all the varied pieces of the puzzle you've gathered. A soft clicking sound drifts across the square. You recognize it from your nights in the Lebanese desert. You gaze off toward the Tower of Galata. That's one word I don't know how to pronounce. After a few moments, your eyes detect a swarm of bats circling their way across the square, probably snatching up moths in the warm night. The sight reminds you of happier times, the warmth of a body next to you on the open sands. But as you watch the cloud of bats, you realize that their movement is strange. It almost seems like they are spiraling around so tightly that they are collapsing in on one another. You blink in disbelief as the swirling cloud condenses into the form of a man, dressed in flowing black. Let's not attack that thing yet. Let's just approach him. You walk toward the man. He looks at you with eyes that burn white beneath flowing black hair. "You there," he says. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" "I'm taking in the sights." "Oh, you say. Okay. I'm taking in the sights," he replies in a low voice. "And yourself?" You fall into step beside him as the two of you walk south. "I'm here because this temple is slipping into darkness," you say. "And someone needs to save it." The man nods. "Indeed, someone should." You glance over at him. "Are you one of those dark powers?" you ask. He doesn't quite smile when he replies, "I am a dark power, but not the one you speak of." "Should I be wary of you anyway?" you ask. "If you are wise," he replies. "But I will not be here long. There are many other threats to this place that you should spend your time investigating if you truly wish to save this city." "I'm listening," you say. "Start with the basilica," he replies. "I was once told that the worst men in Istanbul used the east entrance." "I'll look into that," you say. "Anything else?" He glances over at you with his ghostly white eyes. "Yes," he replies. "Given the choice between a sword and a flower, always choose the flower." You look over at him again, confused. He simply nods, then is suddenly 20 yards away from you. You watch as he leaves the square and wanders up into the neighborhood. Just who was he? Oh, shoot. End of chapter 1. That means chapter 2. That's a lot to unpack, but we'll get to that in a second. The evidence you've collected lays spread out on the table before you. Your meal from the tavern downstairs sits half-eaten as you try to make sense of the results of your encounters. That's when you sense the presence behind you. On instinct, you spin to the side, just so the knife passes through the air where you'd been standing. All of your weapons are across the room, save the one that no one ever expects. You. With singular speed and deft strikes, you grapple with the hooded assassin, keeping the jagged knife just beyond the slice of your flesh until, at last, you gain that crucial advantage and slip your attacker over, onto the table, breaking it to splinters in the process. The assassin lies still. Pulling back his mask, you find a horrible slackness in his head, the result of a broken neck. His face is European. Around his neck is a silver cross with a tiny dragon curled around it. In his pocket, you find a small bound copy of the Exorcist Doctrine, a piece of folded paper. It is a letter with the name of the inn where you are staying, as well as your room number. Excellent, you think to yourself. If people are trying to kill me, then I must be getting somewhere. You may now enter the catacombs and the basilica. Okay, so the person we met was definitely a vampire. It might have been Vlad. Maybe, possibly. But it also might not have been, depending on how things play out. Like, stuff like, is the Impaler, like, a thing here? Or vampires are obviously a thing, but is Dracula himself a thing here? Like, is Vlad Tepish an actual vampire at this point? Which is a good question. But because of the vampire, we know two things. We know that whatever it is, we can go and we can look at it based on the basilica at the east entrance. But we also know that it's going to include a charm check. So, how am I going to go about doing that? Let's see what there is to see. Hire a guide, ascend into the depths. Explore at night, find a local fisherman. Let's ask around for information. You head down to the docks, intending on questioning people about the rash of horrific murders that have been happening. You can tell that people are on edge. They are gathering in greater numbers, even during the day, but few of them will talk to you. Just as you are about to head to a different district, a chorus of gasps and shrieks erupt from further down the pier. You run toward the commotion, a crowd forming around a large fishing boat. There, caught in the net with the day's catch, is one of the strangest creatures you have ever seen. It looks like a cross between a fish and a serpent, but it is over 12 feet long. Its eyes are a deep red, and its powerful jaws are lined with impossibly large fangs. Several people cross themselves, despite the fact that it is clearly dead. The man next to you, who is a merchant you've seen in the bazaar, says, "Never did I believe that I would see a Judas fish during my lifetime. I will pay you 40 gold coins for it." The fisherman accepts, but says he won't touch it. The merchant then says another 30 silver coins to the man who will carry it back to my tent. Which one of these is going to net me more charm? Let's take the merchant up on his offer. I'll carry it. You say the merchant, and the merchant thanks you profusely. The fisherman releases the net, spilling the array of fish onto the pier. The Judas fish unrolls to its full dead length, amid several other gasps. You walk up to it. If you didn't know any better, you'd say that it was looking directly at you with its dead red eyes. You then draw your weapon and slice its head off. The crowd shrieks again as the body suddenly flops and flails, the beast clearly having only been playing dead. The blood sprays everywhere, followed by the last meal the creature had, a chewed-up and desiccated fisherman. The merchant looks at you, enraged. "I did not say to butcher it." "That's true," you reply, resheathing your weapon. "You never did specify the condition you wanted it in when it got to your tent." You picked up the bleeding head with one hand and sling the long body over your shoulder with the other. The merchant is fuming, but seems to be a little afraid of you now. He curses silently and leads the way. What is that? Con? Hit the heart, hit the head. What does that mean? What's day 5? I'm gonna visit the basilica, just because I'm curious. I assume this is something you're supposed to play a bunch of times. You are visiting the basilica before sundown when you notice a group of altar boys gathered around a corner. They seem to be up to something, but you can't tell what. When the priest finally calls for them, they run off, giggling and shoving each other. You approach the small table where they had been gathered around an open box. Peering inside, you find a mouse. The mouse is desperately trying to get out of the box, but the boys have covered the poor thing in lamp oil, so it's just limping helplessly off to the sides. Slipping. Ugh. Remembering the mouse that you used to feed at the orphanage, you pull the little creature out of the box and put it in your pocket. Once you're outside of the basilica, you set it free in an alley. As it scampers away, you remember how difficult it can be for a creature so small to get out of going to church. Okay, so we got some charm now. Maybe this will work. Let's walk through the main room. The basilica is enormous. Its vaulted ceilings arch high above massive pillars of stone. You walk along the far wall, past the kneeling faithful of the city, who are praying for relief. In a remote corner, beneath a golden reliquary, you see an old woman slowly putting out candles with her fingers. Ask her if you can help with anything. Can I perhaps get you your own candle, you ask? The old woman replies in a cracked voice, saying, Each of these was lit before the eyes of Saint Lucy, who are here in this shrine. She sees the prayers of all who kneel in this spot, yet there have been prayers of late which are ugly and must not be answered. When the old woman turns, you see that there are hollow sockets where her eyes should be. Pointing a bony finger to your chest, she says, But you see things too, don't you? Be warned, the ghosts of this city do not like to be seen. But like St. Lucy, someone must keep their eyes open. She then turns and hobbles off down the aisle. Yay! I got more to my con and more to my charm. Ooh. And the chapter ended. Yes. I think we're doing well, but we're probably going to die a horrible death. Chapter 3. The orphan with the eye patch scurries soundlessly across the dark rooftops to where you are perched. My Imam? Imam says that the amulet you drew is the symbol of the Holy Order of the Knights of the Dragon. You eye the smudged-faced child and ask, how can that be? Why would a holy knight try to kill me? Ask him about the cross. You show the silver amulet to the orphan, allowing him to look it over. My Imam says that the symbol here belongs to the Holy Order of the Knight of the Dragon. You eye the smudge and say, how can that be? Da, 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 da. The orphan smiles with a few missing teeth and says, Crusaders trying to kill you, huh? Now you know how it is to live in Istanbul. You throw a gold coin to the child. He nods in appreciation, then disappears silently across rooftops. You hold the silver pendant up and look at it, dangling against the skyline of the city below. Order of the Dragon. Oh my gosh, yes. So, Vlad Tepish is a thing. You may now enter the palace. Oh, shoot. So does this happen every 3 days, or assist on excavation? Yeah, let's do that. You arrive at the palace in a coach, having been summoned by the Sultan's Master of Antiquities. You are ushered inside the gates, escorted to one of the far corners of the palace grounds. There seems to be some sort of excavation going on there, yet there appear to be a large number of Janissary guards present for a mere hole in the ground. An educated man in a white turban approaches you and shakes your hand. Thank you for coming, he says. I am the Master of Antiquities to His Excellency. I know it is unorthodox, but I was told to use any resources necessary. I've heard that you have experience in these matters. What matters, you ask? Let me show you, he replies. The man then leads you down a series of ladders into the ground. At the very bottom you find yourself in what appears to be a stone tunnel of some ancient architecture. This has apparently been down here the entire time, the Master of Antiquities says, leading you by torchlight down the tunnel. We were digging in order to build an underground storeroom for preservation of perishables when we broke through into this tunnel. You look at the reliefs of winged monsters carved into the walls. These are Persian, you say. Yes, I know, he replies. But these are not. He stops and raises his torch. The tunnel ends in 2 black iron doors. Molded into their surface are strange hieroglyphs. Do you recognize them? He asks. A chill runs through your body as you realize where you are standing. You need to get your men out of here, you say. Why? What does that mean? He asks. You turn to him and look him dead in the eyes. These are the gates of Gog and Magog, you say. They are demons of the ancient world, locked away until the end of days, when they will come forth and do battle with the kingdom of heaven. You cannot open these doors. The Master of Antiquities nods. It is as I feared then. Nonsense, says one of the lesser viziers standing behind you. The Sultan is ordained to rule by the wisdom of Allah. God would not allow His Excellence to build a palace on top of an unholy place. The vizier brushes past you towards the doors. I can't make this choice. Either that or my game is wigging out, I think. My game is wigging out. Yeah, it's wigging out. You turn to the Master of Antiquities and say we need to leave right now. I agree, he replies. The 2 of you turn to go, just as the vizier touches the black doors. The man screams in a moment of horrific, mind-reaping pain, just before the sound of his voice changes to a demonic wail. The Master of Antiquities climbs the ladder first, and you turn to look back down the passage. By the light of the vizier's fallen torch, you can see the man writhing in excruciating pain. His arms twist in strange ways. Then you realize that he has more arms than he should. His body begins lumbering back down the corridor toward you, a mess of sprouting limbs and extra heads. When he emerges into the light of your torch, he has taken on a frightening aspect. Blood spurts from opening wounds as new appendages sprout from his body in weird, twisted shapes. New heads chatter with dagger-like teeth, and eyes open in strange places all across his boiling body. You leap up the ladder, pulling it up after you just as he reaches the shaft. His sundry mouths wail and scream in different voices as he claws at the side of the wall, trying to climb toward you. You and the Master of Antiquities climb out of the excavation, lifting every ladder after you as you reach the surface. Fill it in, commands the Master of Antiquities, and no man among you must ever speak of this. Nothing was discovered beneath the palace grounds, understand? Swear it. The workers and guards swear their silence and commence filling in the hole. The screams of the creature echo up from below. The Master of Antiquities turns to you. My friend, you acted quickly down there. I thank you on behalf of His Majesty, though he will never be able to acknowledge it in person. From now on, your investigation will be funded by me. Whatever you need, you have but to send word. You thank the man. It will be a huge boon to be sponsored by the palace directly, even if it has to be in secret. Still, for the rest of your days, you will carry the burden of knowing where the gates of Gog and Magog truly lie, and you will be unable to tell a soul. Negative con plus match plus intelligence. Well, that doesn't do shit for me. We could do catacombs. We could do... What's in the basilica? I can attend evening mass. I can... There's still so much to do. Let's explore at night at the port. While walking through the seedier parts of the port of Istanbul at night, you stumble across a horrific sight. A young woman has been mutilated in the middle of a dark alley, her internal organs removed and positioned in a circle around her. Her clothes suggest that she was a working girl, one of the many whores that frequented the docks at night. This is the 12th whore who has been killed in recent weeks, all of them butchered in ritualistic ways. But this is the first body you have actually seen with your own eyes. The look of terror is still etched on her soft face. Of all the murders and disappearances happening in the city, these seem to be the most consistent, the most deliberate. It is a lead that you can finally grasp onto. One of the booksellers in the port specializes in obscure occult texts. When you show him a drawing of the murdered girl, he fetches a very old book. Translated from the Greek, it is called The 13 Names of God. In it are listed 13 macabre rituals for sacrificing sinners in order to begin the countdown of revelations. The 12th ritual describes the exhumation of the sinner's internal organs, arranged in a circle around the body to invoke the second to last name of the Almighty. The overweight bookseller then shivers when he tells you that the butcher 3 doors down has recently been coming into the bookshop, and this is one of the books he's been reading. The butcher fits with the way the killings seem to have been happening. You pay the man a visit just as he is locking up his store for the night. Dragging him into the alley, you confront him. The wiry Turkish man denies being the killer. He says that he has been reading the occult books in order to try and learn what evil has taken over his city. You question him about the whores he let slip, and he lets it slip that he knows the 4th one had her throat removed, only to be stuffed with her fingers. You drag the man to the city guard and turn him in, telling them your evidence. They immediately lock the butcher up. You are not convinced that he is the man who did it, but if no more killings happen while he is in jail, then you will have been proven right. 2 Maj. Well, that doesn't do me any fucking good. We're gonna attend evening mass. You enter the basilica shortly after dusk. Evening mass is in session as the priest reads from the book of Revelations. You walk along the outside of the pews, analyzing the parishioners who have gathered, searching for any signs of the unusual. Your eyes suddenly land on a man sitting in the middle of a pew whose throat is pouring blood from a gaping gash. You leap over the pews, jumping to the dying man as his eyes roll back in his head. Your agile bounding draws attention to the man, and screams suddenly erupt across the church. The front of his tunic is soaked in blood by the time you reach him, and you immediately begin going through his pockets, searching for anything. The frightened churchgoers move back in panic, with many racing for the doors. Nothing of interest seems to be on his person, but after a quick glance around, you notice a small leather journal on the floor behind his pew. There are 2 bloody fingerprints on it. The assassin must have been after the book, but dropped it in panic when they saw you leaping across the church toward them. Rifling through the book, you find a list of names. Each name has a date beside it. Flipping to the front page, you see a few words in Greek, which translate to the missing End of chapter 3. It would seem as though your deeds have caused you to build up quite a reputation. People seem comfortable in your presence and offer to buy you drinks at the inn. One particularly keen musician even sings a song about the wandering knight. Okay. 1 edge, negative con, 2 intelligence, 3 magic. That's not great, but it's better. And we got an outfit change. And apparently we're on the night route now. I don't know how many chapters there are. Ooh! Chapter 4. You descend the cramped staircase below the city streets. At the bottom you are faced with a heavily armored man in a dark hood. If you're right, everything you've witnessed so far is to be believed. Then the answers you need are on the other side of the gate that this man is guarding. If you're wrong, then he will certainly kill you. Gambling with your life, you reach around your neck and produce the silver amulet of the cross and dragon. The man nods, then opens the gate for you to pass within. As you plunge deeper beneath the city, you breathe in relief. Your plan has worked. He thinks you're a knight from the Order of the Dragon. But all your bravado facades, fades as you enter their secret sanctum. Hooded men and women kneel in rows, murmuring twisted prayers to the silver dragon crosses in their hands. On the walls hang bodies, mutilated in ritualistic ways, with symbols painted in their own blood, symbols that you have seen all across your encounters in the city, symbols from the exorcist doctrine. You dare not stay long enough to be recognized. Besides, you know now who is behind the atrocities. The question on your mind as you duck up a shadowy staircase is, why? Okay. Morality, I don't know why. Okay. What do we do now? I guess we go to the palace. Sit in on the visitors' council. You have been invited to the palace to something called the visitors' council. As any invitation to the palace is an opportunity to learn more, you accept. What you find that night is a large forum filled with people from all over Europe and the Middle East, all discussing the state of the city and what is to be done about it. There does not, however, seem to be any format or structure to the gathering, which strikes you as strange. How is this council supposed to get anything accomplished? It's at that moment that you notice a European woman standing in a far doorway. There's something striking about her, and she's looking right at you. She then motions with her finger for you to follow, and disappears around the corner. You are considering following when you hear someone call to you. You turn and see a crowd of men sitting around on couches amidst the gathering. One of them says, "You are the one investigating the murders, aren't you? Come, tell us what you found." I kind of want to follow the lady, but I also want to... they're not doing anything important. They're not going to get anything done. I need to follow the lady. You follow the woman through a kiosk to a private residence on the palace grounds. She leads you to a small courtyard where another stunning young woman is bathing in a pool by moonlight. When she sees you, she emerges, her brown hair clinging to her back and shoulders. "I was hoping you'd come," she says. "Were you?" you reply. "Indeed, since the moment I saw you." The woman whom you followed opens a satin robe, and the woman from the pool slips into it. You may go, she says. The woman you followed bows, saying, Countess Karenstein. She and the other servants leave, and then it is merely you and the Countess. She sits down on a couch and pours a glass of wine. She holds it up for you. Join me? She asks. Her gaze is compelling. You walk over and sit next to her, taking the wine. You notice that she doesn't pour one for herself. The Countess runs a hand through your hair. You are very beautiful for a warrior, she says. Thank you, you reply. She smiles, cocking her head to the side as her hand rests on your cheek. But something tells me you've gone too long since anyone told you that. You tuck your hair behind your ear. I'm not the type who needs a lot of compliments, you reply. She leans in, whispering, No, you're a woman of action. It's in your blood. Her lips brush against yours. You stab your dagger into her heart. She goes rigid, collapsing to the couch as her eyes become pearl white, and her fangs elongate through her stone-like paralysis. I was fooled by a vampire once, you say. Never again. You draw your weapon and slice her head from her shoulders. Blood pours out across the sofa as you stand. You swallow a glass of wine in one gulp. Setting the glass on a table, you wipe the blood from your sword and walk away, having rid Istanbul from at least one hungry darkness. Hey, intelligence index. Cool. Enter the east gate. Do I feel like I can do that? I want to enter the east gate so bad. Let's do it. Wait, I might want to wait till nightfall. Or search the cellar. There's so much to do. We're running out of time. I'm just going to go to the east gate. You enter the basilica through the east gate. The hymns of praying citizens echo hauntingly through the stone antechamber. You're about to step into the main part of the church when you suddenly stop. Something isn't right with the antechamber. After a few moments of looking, you notice a symbol concealed in the masonry of the ceiling. You've seen it before. It's a 5-pointed crown, the symbol of the Demon King, Asmodeus. It is a warning to the educated that danger awaits he who continues forward. We're going to press onward. Drawing your weapon, you begin tapping along the walls in order to find the hint of a hollow space behind. After long minutes of searching, you find a spot that sounds thinner than the rest of the stone. Putting your strength into your shoulder, you budge and force the wall any direction you can think of, until finally something gives. A part of the wall swivels out to reveal a hidden staircase, spiraling down. You descend into darkness and the smell of decay. Upon reaching the bottom, you light a lonely torch hanging from the wall beside the stairs. You recoil in horror to find a room filled with corpses hanging upside down, chained to the ceiling. Each of them has had their skin flayed from their bodies. The walls have been covered in writing, all done in a careful penmanship, using the blood of those who had been skinned alive. You scan the grisly text only to discover that it is the commandment of Solomon from the Exorcist doctrine. The corpses must have been witches, or people suspected of witchcraft. Either way, it would not do to be caught by whichever dark members of the clergy used this horrific place. You leave at once, but not before taking one of the sacrificial knives, which has been inscribed with strange hieroglyphs. +1 magic. Well, that doesn't do me a whole lot of good. We're going to search the cellar. The innkeeper's daughter went missing after church services this morning. It's another abduction of many, but you knew this girl and you liked her. That makes finding her all the more important. As you enter the basilica, you head to the last place anyone saw her, lighting a candle at the shrine of the Black Madonna. You examine the area carefully, looking for any signs as to her whereabouts. When you move the kneeling bench out of the way, you are surprised to find a narrow grating in the floor. It's little more than a vent, but it does open from the inside. With a well-placed kick, you knock it open and climb down into the floor. The crawl space is tight, but it soon widens into the basilica cellar. There's a makeshift kitchen set up there, and a priest is sitting at a table, sipping on a bowl of stew. The things you've witnessed since coming to Istanbul cause your mind to jump to the absolute worst conclusion. You ask, "Father?" The priest yelps as he turns around to face you, a long chain shuffling with his foot across the floor. You take a step forward. "Father, what kind of stew is that?" The priest gets a wide smile on his face, marked by gaps of missing teeth, and he says, "Heathen stew." Kill the son of a bitch. Go back upstairs and tell the head priest that the crazy man in the basement is eating parishioners. I'm gonna kill the son of a bitch because I don't trust the bureaucracy. You are merciless. Your weapon plunges into the cannibal's priest's face, and his blood sprays around the cellar as he flounders. When he finally collapses, dead and gurgling, you fish the ribbon that had always been in the girl's hair out of the stew. You only wish you could forget the image of her eyeball floating next to it. We got Dex, we got Strength, we got Intelligence, we got Max, and we got Negative Con again. I don't know what that is. No charm. Chapter 5. Your weapon clanks sharply against the sword of the bearded knight. A shingle gives way under your foot, and you barely manage to adjust your weight before you slide off the roof to certain death. The knight presses his attack, and you're forced backward along the dome of the Hagia Sophia Mosque. Disarm him and hold him for questioning. Let's disarm him and hold him for questioning. You run to the knight to offer him a hand up, knowing that he has dropped his weapon and might have valuable information. "Your name will be added to the list of the judged," the knight threatens. "You will join your heathen brothers and sisters impaled on the spikes of hell, and your sultan will at last feel the fires of the master he serves." With that, his hand slips and he plummets, screaming, to the earth below. As you look down on his broken body, impaled onto one of the spikes of the mosque's fence, you realize that what his final words portend. They're going to assassinate the Sultan. Cool. Neat. Let's go over here. Let's explore the kitchens. You gain entrance to the palace on the final day of Ramadan, where there is to be an enormous feast to break the month of fasting. While there, you manage to sneak off into the shadows in order to investigate some suspicions you have about the Sultan's advisors. You are passing the extensive kitchens when one of the cooks happens to make eye contact with you. "My friend," he says. You look at him cautiously before realizing that he is the father of the child you rescued from the kidnappers. He comes up to you and shakes your hand profusely. "Not a day goes by that I do not thank God for you in my prayers." You smile at him, hoping to end the conversation before anyone else takes notice of you. "Please," he says, leading you into the kitchen, "I have no money to offer, but I can give you something which is better than money." He pulls you over to a cauldron of simmering stew and doles out a small bowl for you. "This brew is made only for the Sultan. It is special soup, which he takes every night before bed. It has magical properties. Just this once, between you and I offer it to you as a thanks for rescuing my child. He's gonna kill me with this, isn't he? He might kill me with this. Yeah, let's not. Thank you, reply, but I make it a rule not to eat another man's soup. The man's brow furrows in dismay. But my friend, you don't understand. He ladles up a heaping amount of the stew from the cauldron, including some strange-looking meat. This is made from the genitals of the palace eunuchs. I'm sorry, what? You almost vomit when you realize what is cradled in the ladle. Ladle cradle. There is no stronger broth in all the world for increasing a man's potency. You thank him, but tell him you cannot accept any gift for your deed. Then you hurry away, thanking God you didn't taste the stuff before asking what was in it. Negative con. Well, okay. That didn't do me much good. Is there anything else I can do with the basilica? I'm gonna wait till nightfall. Walking past the basilica at night, you think you catch a faint, muffled cry. It seems to have come from somewhere above you, looking up at the looming towers. You strain to hear anything else, but no sound drifts down. You watch carefully, but the moon is behind the clouds, and you can't make anything out. Still, something sinister is happening up there. You can feel it. Break into the basilica and find your way to the roof. Risk your life climbing the outer walls of the basilica to get to the top. Yeah. You are merciless. Your weapon plunges into the cannibal priest's face. What? So when he finally collapses dead and you finish the ribbon... That's the same one as earlier. Luckily, a random drain spout finds your flailing hand. You manage to pull yourself up. By the time you get to the roof, you are exhausted and trembling from the exertion. You catch your breath and stand to your full height, just as the sound of flapping fabric catches your ears. You turn as the moon breaks through the clouds, and you see it. Rising up from the roof of the basilica, concealed from the sight lines of the street below, is a 12-foot-tall pike. And on that pike is a man, fully impaled, his blood running down the shaft onto the shingles. He's dead now, and probably was before you came over the roof. Unfortunately, searching through his pockets reveals nothing. There's no indication of who the man was, but something about the way he was killed, the message it conveys, haunts you on your descent back to the streets. Yay! Plus agility and strength. Cool. There's nothing else to do at the palace. Well, there's one thing to do left at the palace. Look for markings. Yeah, let's look for markings. So, I mean, so far, this game is great. Like, I think it has a cool concept. And, but, like, there's some text issues that's a little weird. And when this game is, like, fully text, it's like, We're gonna look for markings. This is the last day, by the way. On your way through the catacombs, you notice one skeleton in particular, pointing off down a specific row of graves. You wonder if perhaps this is a directional marker for some underground cult follow in the direction it points. And follow. See? Like, they've axed a lot of the ands. That thing with the text box appearing, like, from a previous thing was a little weird. It's alright. It'll be fine. After a little walking, you come to another skeleton, propped up in its coffin, pointing in another direction. You follow that, as well as the directions of 4 others until you come to a door. A door made entirely of bones! Exclamation point. There is a lock, perhaps requiring a skeleton key. But there is also a small metal bowl with spikes rising out of it. An inscription above the bowl reads, "Blood for bones." Try and pick the lock, prick your finger, and offer some blood to the bones. Content to play along for the moment, you prick your finger on the spike. It stings, and a few droplets of red fall from your finger into the bowl. There is a hiss, and the door creaks open. You shine your torch inside to discover a chapel made entirely from human bones. Skulls, femurs, hips, spinal columns. There must be the remains of 200 people used in constructing the room. Kneeling before a skeletal Christ nailed to a bone cross is a hooded figure. What is this place, you ask? The Chapel of Death, whispers the hooded figure. You step inside. I'm looking for the king of the catacombs, you say. I'm looking for the one who steals children from their beds and brings them below. The hooded figure rises. He has been here. He has given his blood for the bones. And now so have you. The figure turns, and you are horrified to see that his face has mostly rotted away from disease, leaving little more than a macabre skull behind. The death priest raises a long, bony finger to point at you. You have made your offering to the dead, and now the dead shall ever be known to you. Having had enough, you back out of the chapel and make your retreat into the catacombs. As you leave, you can't shake the feeling that the dead are somehow more familiar to you now. Okay. We got agility, strength, and magic, and -1 con again. I don't know how. Chapter 6. Sultan Mehmed II is just sitting down into the water of the palace's grand bath when one of the maidens attending him loops a length of silver cord around his throat. Let the guards handle and slice the assassin's head off. Bury a dagger into the assassin's heart. Here we are. You leap from behind the tapestry where you were hiding and hurl a dagger directly at the assassin's spine. But she hears your attack and jumps to the side, leaving your flying dagger to embed itself into the back of the Sultan's head. The assassin pauses for a second, a pleasantly surprised look on her face, before fleeing the room. Oh, we are fucked. The guards rush in as she leaves, and you immediately know it's all over. Accidentally or not, you've killed the Sultan. The guards seek revenge, their swords biting into you again and again as they tear you to pieces. You have overestimated your own abilities and have failed. Next time, consider your actions more carefully. Oh, okay. Ow. Well, oops. Big oops. Can I? Nope, it's gone. Well, that's interesting. The score is haunting. The art style is beautiful. I love all this. I love the envelope and the letter and how it looks. The content, like the actual, I don't, like, it seems like a lot of the dialogue, I believe it's translated from something. I don't remember what, but it's not English naturally. Like, it wasn't made in English. And that's fine, but, like, the translation errors definitely show. That weird glitch where it showed a paragraph of a different, a different scene was a little odd. Also, it seemed to rely a whole lot on shock value. Just, like, instead of trying to cultivate, a creepy type of aesthetic more often than not, they kind of just jumped to the gore. Either that or I just picked all the things where all the bodies were, which is highly likely that I just went through and picked the spots where all of the bodies were hiding. Just all purely by accident. But it seemed like there was a lot of gore. Like, in place of building a genuinely creepy aesthetic. Like the bit about the butcher who comes in to read the cultist books, that was creepy by itself. It didn't need the added imagery of the prostitute, like just mutilated and destroyed. There were definitely times where it was creepy by itself without needing to like lean on exaggerated gore. But yeah, that was cool. I liked that. I don't know if we're ever going to do that again. 1 second, let me look at the classes. No, they don't change. So, it's the same 3 classes every time. Yeah, I really like that. Maybe we'll play again if that would be something y'all would like to see. And if not, then I'll enjoy poking around a little bit on my own. Yeah. Y'all have a nice evening.